All right, let's get it going. So, as they said, my name is Robert Strazzarino. I was a computer science major at Chico State and graduated in 2006. By show of hands, who's used Wildcat Scheduler to make their schedule before? Awesome. That's great. So this is going to be just a story of how the company got started. I'm going to give you some practical tips, some things that I use to grow my company, and then leave you with a few thoughts on just entrepreneurship in general. So just to set the stage, what is College Scheduler? College Scheduler is an application that helps you make the best class schedule. You put the classes in you want to take, the times you can't take class, like a job or an athletic practice, you hit a button, every open, conflict-free schedule is going to come onto the screen. So that's basically what the software does. It's very, very simple. We do have some very large name schools. We've got, Penn State, Ohio State, Arizona State, and of course the best one, Chico State. So today we've got a little over 300 institutions, primarily in the U.S., although we do have some international customers. 6.7 million students have used the software since I created it. So that's all time from the beginning over until to present day. Last semester we had 2.1 million students use it. That's a pretty significant number because that's actually over 1 in 10 of all students in the country. So definitely a number that we are proud of. So just to keep it moving, the story. This was my sophomore year. I was frustrated with making my schedule. As you all know, it's a tedious process. If you have tried to do it manually, there could be thousands of combinations just with 5 simple classes and 5 sections each. So it's really a problem for a computer to solve and not a human to kind of just go through trial and error. My freshman year, I kind of built it by hand, called in on the phone to register. Sophomore year, they rolled out online registration, and that was a year where I had a year of programming under my belt and decided to take a hack at it. So I wrote the software myself. I downloaded the class schedule web pages every night. I wrote code to pick out the times and basically launched the software. So what I did next is I paid my roommate to hang flyers on the bulletin boards around campus, and I got written up in the Orion, which was pretty cool, and that kind of helped grow and get the word out. At the time, what I did just to pay the hosting bills and make a little money, I just sold like banner ads to local businesses. So Pita Pit, I had a bar. I don't recommend this. I had a bar advertising on here. And anyways, Chico State actually bought like 10 ads from me just to support the software because they were using it pretty heavily, the advisors and things like that. So my senior year, this was 2005, I basically approached the administration and said, hey, I'd love to offer this to more schools. I want to make this an official company. How about you guys pay me 10 grand a year? And we'll just go from there. And like a week later, they said, absolutely, we'll do it. Over half the students are using it. The advisors were using it. I was a student athlete. I knew all the athletic advisors were making schedules for the athletes. So it was a pretty easy deal to get started. And once we got the yes, honestly, it's really simple. You go online, you file your LLC, you get a QuickBooks account, you start keeping track of stuff. It's so easy to actually start a company formally. So path to growth, I've got kind of a longer version of this. I got to do this in one slide because this is a short talk. So January 2010, you notice I started the company in 2005. This is not easy. I was a computer science major, a couple business classes, by myself, no investors, no partners. So times were slow at the beginning. Fast forward a few years later, we had 43 institutions doing about $700,000 a year in revenue. 3 years after that, 172 institutions. Now we're cooking, doing some really good annual recurring revenue with 15 employees. And again, at this time, it was all bootstrapped. And then 7 days later was when my business got acquired. So Civitas Learning is also a higher education software company. They're in Austin, Texas. So they basically wholly acquired my company, and I stayed on, and I run College Scheduler still here in Chico. I love Chico. I plan on staying here and starting more companies here. It's a great place, and we hire a lot of really smart students out of the university. So 10 years it took to get that acquisition, and certainly some people get things faster. Certainly we could have raised money, we could have not. My kind of background and the way that I can kind of give advice and things is I have the bootstrapped kind of background, so that's the way that I did it. So I'm going to try to give you some practical kind of tips here. First of all, just like Brian said, there's going to be ups and downs. I had a lot of challenges. This is a screenshot from 2011. Every blacked out name was a salesperson that tried to sell the software. So that's not very good. That was a lot of wasted time. I struggled to kind of get the right pay structure in place, and it was actually through mentors that kind of helped me get that dialed in. I'll talk a little bit more about mentors later. So the point of this slide is to show you that it's not just going to be all just, it's super easy. You got to deal with challenges, and you got to learn the hard way sometimes. With sales in particular, because I'm a computer science major, I had to learn how to do sales, manage a sales team, things like that. So tracking things daily is a must. So this is screenshots of our emails that would come every day to me, to all the salespeople, right in front of everybody's eyeballs. I don't have names here, but the colors represent the salespeople. We would track our sales goals, and we would track demos. And we had goals, and we could see very clearly if we weren't on pace to hit those. And so daily tracking is preferable. Weekly tracking is great. If you start getting to monthly and quarterly, it might be too late. You might get some lagging indicators that things aren't going well, and now the quarter's busted. So definitely get metrics out in front of people. One of the things that's good about keeping track of metrics is you get a bunch of data. So for example, I knew that every demo we did, eventually we'd have around a 30% chance of closing that. So when a company comes and looks at me and says, hey, we want to buy you guys, I just show them all the metrics. I've kept track of everything from day one. And they say, okay, well, if I put more money into this and these percentages hold, we're going to make millions and millions of dollars. So we should buy this company. If I didn't have that data and didn't keep track of that stuff, it would have gotten me less money during the acquisition. It's really easy to keep track of this stuff. Get a Salesforce.com account or some other CRM. Keep track of this stuff from day one. Trade shows. I just came back from a trade show today. I woke up at 5 a.m. in Florida this morning. It was a long day of travel. But shows are super effective, and that's why I do it. So I'm going to give you a few tips. This is like the most baller booth we've ever had. I picked this one. You'll see some earlier ones. This is like more of the bootstrapped years over here. So face-to-face is just way better than cold calling, especially the Chico State especially. You guys are good at networking and socializing. Take advantage of it. Get out there in person and develop some relationships. Dinner and drinks go a long way, for sure. One tip that a lot of vendors don't take advantage of that I didn't know right away, if you can pay to do a presentation at a conference, it has always penciled for me. It's amazing when you go to a conference, you market the session at your booth, they come to your conference, they come to your presentation, I would raffle off like an iPad, and I would come home with 50 leads, all their contact information. I knew they watched a 1-hour presentation of mine. Super easy thing to do. You would be surprised how many vendors don't do this, and they're just missing out. This is a simple tip, and it definitely will give you a return on the investment. After hours activities, this is one thing I learned. Your time at the booth could be just as important, or even maybe a little bit less important than your time outside the booth. Take time to socialize, go to the hotel bar. We would throw parties. So in the bootstrapped years, when I was in control of the budget, I would throw giant parties at some of the national shows. We'd rent out like dueling piano bars and stuff. People love this. Obviously, this wasn't happening day one when I had 7 schools. But man, I'm telling you, these shows, for me, it was a turning point. And that's when we started really going up. So when we started getting out there and going to shows. So final few thoughts. Look, this is just a sampling of things that I've done that have failed. I don't have time to tell you about these things. Some of them are hilarious. Some of them are heartbreakers. We were close to really having one of these take off. Didn't happen. So the bottom line is, just like Brian said, you're going to have ups and downs. Just be patient. Just stick through it. Keep trying new things. It's all good if you fail. And guess what? You don't have to fail on your first try either. Your first one could be the one, but be ready to be flexible if something's not working out. And I liked having lots of irons in the fire. But that's also kind of a mixed thing, because if you're doing too many things, it's better to do fewer things well and get something that goes way up in value. Few quick bullets. Why become an entrepreneur? For me, I like having no ceiling on my income. Like that was like the main thing that really got me going. It's like, okay, the sky's the limit. There's nobody can stop us here. We could get 1,000 schools and be making millions of dollars. And that would fire me up. And that would get me up. It would get me going to conferences. Don't become an entrepreneur though if you just want to like make your own schedule. Because the thing with that is that's great while you're working by yourself. But when you have 15 employees going to the office and working for you every day, and you're out screwing around, that's not the right message. So you got to go to the office. It's not like being entrepreneurs all just vacations and stuff. you got to set a good example for your employees. So just think about do it for the right reasons. Mentors. I was blessed to have a couple of great mentors. Mentors can be good, not only for business, but for personal advice as well. You're going to go through a lot of personal ups and downs. This stuff is not easy. Kind of goes into balance. Make sure if you're working out of your house that you get out of the house. Don't sit there for years in a row like I did and have like kind of a mental breakdown for a few months when you work too hard and you don't get out. That's what happened to me. It was awful. I almost lost the company. I got through it and everything's fine. But if you don't remember anything else from my presentation, keep an eye on your mental health while you're going through this stuff. This stuff can be stressful, but the highs are extremely highs and the lows can be extreme lows. And at the end of the day, it's all worth it. Final thing I'll leave you with, my philosophy, the customer comes first. If you're ever wondering kind of what's going on, what do I do with the situation? If you take care of your customers and they tell their friends about your service, it's all good. You're gonna have an amazing business. So don't ever stop dreaming of the next thing. Execution is all that matters. Whatever ideas that you're having, there's been 1,000 people that have had the same idea for the company that I run. It's all that matters is if you actually do it. And the final thing is just like right now, it's great. You can make a company out of thin air these days. You can rent servers, you can write stuff. You just need, obviously if you need inventory and things, a different story, but it's a crazy time right now. You can get a business off the ground quick with little resources. You can bootstrap it, and then you can own a bunch when you sell it. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.